Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our playthrough of Mecha Ace, Heroes of the Vedrian War. Now, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Last time, we did a heroic run. We were a good guy. This time, just to do the complete opposite, we are going to run through the game as evil as I can possibly make us. We're not going to care about other people, we're not going to care about the ships, we don't care about the war. We just want everybody and everything to die around us, including our own side, but as long as the other side dies with it. If anybody's seen Gundam Seed, I'm going to be taking the approach of Providence here, basically. One other note, I am going to, while I read through this, I've noticed that there's a little tiny bit of static. Seems to not be able to be helped, so I'm going to be playing faint music in the background. You're not going crazy, that is actually music. So, with all that said, let's hop right into our new read-through, and we are going to be randomizing the NCP genders. Let's go. Episode 1, A Struggle Amidst the Stars, The Battle for Vedria Prime. Orbit over Vedria Prime, Vedria System. 419 Interstellar Era. You pull back on the throttles as the battered Imperial combat armature in your sights begins to glow with the telltale lights of a core breach. You shift your weight in your seat, your skin-tight pilot suit stretching as your own mecha's control register your movement. Your multi-ton war machine halts just meters in front of the stricken enemy machine at the commands of your flesh and blood body inside the cockpit. With a twist of your legs, your control interface sends the 12 metric tons of your combat armature's leg crashing into the disintegrating enemy machine, sending it careening off into the middle of an enemy formation. With a brilliant, self-annihilating flash, the crippled machine's antimatter core goes critical, taking 2 other hostiles with it. Around you, more enemy machines die as allied mecha pour supporting fire into them, exploiting the hole torn in the enemy formation by your attack. Command has been wise to choose you to lead the attack, for you are an elite ace with 60 kills. Now, you have 63. Their formation shattered, the enemy advance guard flees for the safety of the distant support vessels. Behind you, the main body of the fleet moves up to press the attack, allowing you and your fellow pilots in the advance guard to regroup. You scan your tactical display, hoping to find and rendezvous with your unit. Instead, you find 3 dim energy readings heading away from you, each with the telltale signature of escape pods. What do you do? Ooh. We're evil. I'm gonna have to keep reminding myself of that. Those impy bastards. Die. You push the throttle forward with one hand as you designate the enemy escape pods as targets with the other, a familiar sequence of movements made second nature by 5 years of fighting against the oppression of old Earth. You position your combat armature behind the trio of tiny, egg-like craft as they fly for the safety of the Imperial fleet's defensive fire. You close into point-blank range, and you raise your mecha's weapon, opening fire at a distance which almost guarantees direct hits. You squeeze the trigger 3 times, and the star-studded sky is filled with 3 dying blooms of pale fire and shattered metal. You can almost imagine the despairing wails of the Imperial pilots as their fragile escape pods disintegrate around them and their bodies are painfully immolated. The thought almost brings a smile to your lips. Oh yes, I like this already. A voice brings you out of your pensive mood to the here and now. Nice shooting, boss. Glad to see we're not pulling any punches today. The window on your comm screen displays the image of a black-haired young woman with full cherry lips, a stub nose, and skin the color of milk tea. Her smile made up equal parts approval and admiration. Ensign Fatima Asadi, your wingman, possessed of undoubted talent, healthy aggression, and a killer instinct which has made her a vital asset, or a valued asset thus far. You smile back, answering your wingman's youthful enthusiasm with a hunter's grin of your own. We're warriors, Asadi. Our job is to kill the enemy. We wouldn't be very good warriors if we didn't do our jobs, right? Asadi's grin redoubles. That makes all the sense in the galaxy to me. We are, sir. We could play as a chick, but I don't know what the rules for seducing people are in this, so I think we'll just we'll probably make good friends with Asadi from what we learned in our heroic run. Also, I'm going to be trying to do voices. If they suck, I'll get rid of them, but for now. You nod your head. Glad I've made myself clearer, Sadie, you say, as you look over your main display, beyond your wingman's face and at the battle still raging before you, high above Vedria Prime's surface. Half a decade of war has honed your ability to pick out friend from foe on a razor's edge. Within seconds, you're able to pick up the friendly warships and combat armature units of the fleet as they open up against the main body of the hated enemy. They, like you, fight for the coalition of democratic extrasolar colonies, an alliance of human colonies fighting for independence from the growing tyranny of old Earth's empire of humanity ascendant. The rebellion itself has been centuries in the making. While the human species has needed strong central authority to govern it during the first uncertain decades of interstellar colonization, the organization that would become the Empire did not adapt to the changing realities as Earth's colonies grew in power in their own right. Ultimately, the results have been a government who seeked to speak for all of humanity, but one which concentrated all power in the 1/7 of the human race that lived within humanity's home system. Instead of delegating power to the ascendant colonies, old Earth had sought to rein in its growing children with increasingly restrictive policies. When the outer colonies protested, the Empress and her court responded by stripping entire worlds of their charters and ruling by decree. After that, open rebellion had only been a matter of time. In the early days of the rebellion, the forces of Earth's rebelling colonies had been poorly organized and armed with nothing more than improvised weapons, warships, and combat armatures. You had been one of the first volunteers. The moment the concept of colonial revolution became something more concrete, you joined up with the newborn rebellion's ragtag armed forces. You only had one thing on your mind that day, and you joined Codex Military as a combat armature pilot for one reason. Ooh, let's see. Revenge? Maybe. To support the freedom? No. To shield dear? No. Power, fame? Not really. To kill people? I think that's the answer. Yeah, no, we're not going revenge. We're just gonna kill people because this gives us an excuse to do so. You only really needed one reason to volunteer. The simple fact that when a civilian killed somebody, they called it murder. But when a soldier killed somebody who happened to be wearing the right colored shirt, they call it war. Even better, if you killed enough people who wore the right colored shirts, they patted you on the back, gave you a medal, and encouraged you to kill even more. It was the only job perk you could have ever wanted. Oh, I have this huge grin right now because this is amazing. You had already applied for the Imperial fleet before the rebellion had started. They had rejected you on the grounds of mental instability. Oh, shit. Kodak had no such qualms. They needed every fresh soldier they could get, and your killer instinct put you in good stead. Over the next 5 long years of war, you watched Codex Military turn into a cohesive fighting force capable of facing the Imperial war machine on even terms. During that time, you became one of Codex's most elite pilots, famously known for... Passion for everything? But we're not reliable. We are an ace among ace. 3 years ago, the Imperials had tried to take Vedria for the first time. Only instead of attacking the system's planets, they had tried to take Crown Station, the massive space station which guarded the link between Vedria and the other Codec worlds. You had been a part of the Codex main fleet at the time, which meant you were caught in the hardest of the fighting. It was there that you were able to penetrate the Imperial fleet's screen in a mad dash forward and take down 3 enemy warships, including one of their prized Marshal-class carriers. Codex High Command gave you a medal, a promotion, and your own lance after that. Not too bad for a single day's work. So we are going to have to, just throwing this out here right now, keep our lance alive long enough to use them in better things. We don't want them dead right away. It's not opportunistic at the moment. With the other 5 combat armatures of your lance, excuse me. With the other 5 combat armatures of your lance rallying behind your machine, you look for a target of opportunity, an opportunity to throw your unit back into the fight. Your keen eyes soon find one. The telltale thruster trails of Imperial M401 Fantins, the most basic combat armature still fielded by the Imperial military. There are perhaps 24 in all, moving forward in an attempt to outflank the advancing Codex fleet. You turn to your wingman again. She meets your gaze, a vicious grin still on her lips. It is clear that she has seen the same opportunity you have. More work, boss man? You nod. More work. Pilots, rally on me and prepare to attack. You look around your cockpit, going through the practiced motions of a pre-combat check. You know Sadie and the other members of your lance will be doing the same. For them, such a check would be a formality, but you've just come out of a battle, and you go through every item on the checklist in earnest, looking for minor damage from your previous skirmish, mechanical failure alerts, or any other pressing issues. Finally, you ensure that your machine's primary weapon is still in working order. You quickly check the... We are using the long-range particle rifle. That's too badass of a weapon. Yeah, we're all about the long range. You pull back the bolt of the massive particle rifle, an action which has become almost instinctual after 5 years as a combat armature pilot. You watch as the heat sink unit flies free from the main body of the weapon, letting the excess heat vent into the black void of space. With a single fluid movement, you cycle the bolt and chamber a new heat sink. Though power-hungry and slow to reload, your CA-95 Manningham's particle rifle is powerful enough to pierce the heaviest of armor, and accurate enough to be effective against mecha and starships. The combination of the Manningham's long-range attack capability and your own finely honed skills have made you one of Codex's premier aces over the years, a reputation which grows with every battle. Of course, it helps that your machine isn't exactly factory standard. Over the years, you've made a few modifications to your increasingly obsolete mecha. At first, they were just a few minor touches. New cockpit displays, a climate control unit, leather upholstery, stuff like that. It wasn't until you scored your 25th kill in the 3rd year of the war that Command had given you permission to order the customizations you really wanted. Namely... I'm thinking upgraded thrusters. If we're gonna play like like Providence, we might as well aim to get it to that. Yeah, upgraded thrusters. The modifications hadn't even ended up being particularly drastic. All the tech crews had to do was install new thruster nozzles capable of holding up under higher temperatures and remove the reactor governors. The result was a more powerful thruster system, which allows you to take advantage of your formidable piloting skills to their fullest extent. This is lead, you report, ready for battle. This is 2, Sadie responds, her voice as cocky as ever. Locked, loaded, and ready to roll. After your wingmen, the 4 other pilots of your lance report themselves ready for battle as well. The whole process takes mere moments. Your unit is comprised of some of Codex's most promising pilots, each eager to prove their mettle alongside a famed ace such as yourself. By following your example over the 2 years you've led them, your strengths have become their strengths. Unfortunately, your weaknesses have also become theirs as well. In a way, perhaps, they are disciples of your own unique combat style. Like every lance in the Codex military, your unit has a distinctive name, one which you picked yourself. Let's see what comes up when we go something more original than that. Might as well. It took you more than a small amount of thinking, but eventually you settled on... Oh, it just lets us type it in. Wasn't expecting us to let me type it in. Well, let's go with... Okay. Let's go in the spirit of Gundam. Zaft. Alright, Zaft Lance. Form up on me and follow my lead. Your units form behind your combat armature with the grace of a ballet. They fly newer models than your trusty old Manningham. CA-108 Grangers and CA-109 Raiders. Models superior to your own, but strange and overcomplex to pilots who used to the simplicity of Codex's first generation of combat armatures. With your lance now flying in readiness behind your machine, you request authorization to begin the attack. Caliburn, this is Zaft Lead, copy. You glance at the lean, knife-like hull of the CWS Caliburn as you send your message. The ship is almost brand new, one of Codex's first purpose-built warships, a far cry from the hastily armed freighters and makeshift carriers you've spent most of the war on. A moment later, you get a reply. I am not sure at the gender yet, so I will keep this voice neutral. This is Caliburn Actual, barks a grotesque contralto. What do you want, Zaft Lead? You wince a little at the hard tone on the other end of the line. Captain Balin of the Caliburn may be an excellent soldier and a tactical genius, but her interpersonal skills leave much to be desired. Caliburn, requesting permission to attack. Contacts marked Delta 5-2 on the scope. About 20 or so, mostly Phantons. Granted, Zaft Lead. Good hunting. Received and acknowledged, Caliburn. Actual. Out. Your lips curl into a predatory grin as you open the throttle and fly into battle. As you approach the enemy formation, your keen tactician's mind takes over. Honed to a fine edge over dozens of battles, skirmishes, and duels, you pick out your options even as your machine advances on the Imperial force at top speed. The most obvious choice would be to hit the enemy head-on, but such a move would put you at the head of your formation, where you will draw the most fire and stand the most chance of colliding into an enemy machine. You will need an iron will and nerves of titanium to do such a thing. Alternatively, you could attack the enemy commander first, relying on superior piloting skill to quickly destroy or disable his machine, leaving his subordinates confused and uncoordinated. Another option would be to find a weak point in the enemy's formation and exploit it, something that would need excellent situational and tactical awareness. Lastly, you could attempt to strike fear into the enemy by hitting it with a showy, intimidating first strike. You'd need one hell of a flair for the melodramatic to sell it, but it might just make the enemy hesitate long enough for you and your unit to win the fight. Ultimately, we're the super ace. We're taking out the enemy commander head on. You pick out the enemy commander easily enough. Imperial Command Variant Mecha are hardly inconspicuous in their golden trim and ostentatious ornamentation. Alright, Zaft Lance, I'll take out their command unit. When you see him go down, follow me in. You dial down your throttle, simply letting simple inertia send you towards the enemy units. Your own subordinates follow behind you, keeping a similarly low profile. You are almost within weapons range when the enemy spots your machines. You power up your thrusters as the Imperials throw up a hasty wall of defensive fire. Your machine twists and dances through the storm of enemy bullets, twirling through the firestorm at your skilled command. The enemy fire grows wilder and more panicked as you careen ever closer, but you are the master of your craft, and they cannot stop you. The enemy command unit rushes to engage you with its melee weapons as you close, but you are ready. Before it can even attempt to strike on your machine, you punch your thrusters and sail over the enemy suit with impossible agility. You bring your particle rifle round to bear and squeeze the trigger before the enemy can even turn his machine around. With their commander out of the fight, the Imperial formation loses cohesion, just in time for the remaining 5 mecha of Zaft Lance to join in the battle, guns blazing. Your mecha's particle rifle isn't meant to be used in a close melee like this, but at this point you have little choice. Whatever. The battle around you devolves into a confused, high-speed brawl, as the enemies around you desperately maneuver to get close into melee range, while keeping out of your weapon's own line of fire. Few succeed. One by one, you lure or chase the enemy units before your sights. One by one, they die in a bright cataclysm of charged particles and vaporizing metal. All around you, your unit fights with the skill and ferocity you have come to expect of them. Slowly, the Imperial defense begins to crumble. However, just as the tide starts turning in your favor, your fatal weakness rears its ugly head. We are... Well, we're not outmaneuvered, that's for sure. Let's see, blindsided by an enemy we did not detect in time? I think that's probably the one we go with. Losing the ability to command other pilots in my lance. No, we are a superior tactician, and we don't get combat shakes, and we can't be outmaneuvered. We're not the world's best spotter. The warning is what saves you. You're on the tail of an Imperial machine, trying to get a clean shot in when Zaft 3's face suddenly appears on your main display, her freckled face a mask of alarm. "Sir, behind you!" You turn your machine around just in time to see an Imperial machine flying towards you at full speed, its monosaber held in front of it like a fencer. You barely have enough time to push your machine to the side in a gut-wrenching high-G maneuver before your attacker roars past, lunging at the spot where you had not been a split second before. The second the enemy is past you, your combat instincts take over. Your particle rifle is up in a split second, and you put a single shot between you and the would-be killer's shoulders. Secondary explosions stitch across the back of the enemy machine as its ammunition and power supplies cook off. You cycle the bolt and take a deep breath to calm yourself. Thanks for the save, Zaft 3. Zaft 3 gives an impish little grin. Not a problem, boss. Yeah, we can do that. We have our lance for most of the time anyway. A moment later, another message comes in. It's the Caliburn. You open the comm line. The faces of your 5 lance mates are replaced by Captain Balin's stern, battle-scarred scowl. Zaft lead. Status report. Engage the enemy. No losses on our end, but... Let me guess, the enemy force just up and disappeared on you? You nod. The captain's responds with a look that might as well have said, "I thought as much." Our sensor logs tracked about a dozen of them breaking off right after your lances hit them. They linked up with another lance and dropped planetside. Apparently, they're headed for a high-priority objective on the planet's surface. Your new orders are to go in after them and secure that objective. I'm sending you the coordinates right now. The coordinates point to a civilian district, with not a single known military target within 100 kilometers. Captain, what exactly are you sending us into? Balin shakes her head sharply. You're not cleared to know. That's bullshit, you blurt out. You're just going to send us in blind? The captain fixes you with a stern look. Zaft lead, I'm not even cleared to know. Just get it done. Caliburn actual out. Well, that was hardly helpful. What was that about? Asadi asks as you reopen the comm lines with your lance. New orders, you reply. Rig up for re-entry. I'm sending you the coordinates. Asadi's face lights up in anticipation. More fighting, boss? Not all your lance mates share your wingman's enthusiasm. Some seem nervous. Zaft 5 even seems outright disgusted by Asadi's eagerness. How do you respond? Oh, we're aggressive. That's right, Asadi. Our prey's gone to ground, so we're dropping to the planet's surface to hunt him down. Your wingman nods eagerly. Awesome. Awesome! Let's go hunt those impy bastards! That's such a terrible voice. One by one, the members of your lance report themselves ready for atmospheric drop. Your main display shuts off, obscured by a layer of ablative heat gel which will protect your combat armature from the heat of re-entry. You position your machine over the drop coordinates, flying on sensors alone. Commencing re-entry, you announce, Zaft Lance, follow me in. With that, you and your lance begin the blind descent into Vedria Prime's atmosphere. Next time, Episode 2, Into the Lion's Den, Codex's Secret Weapon. But for now, later guys.